Okay, actually there are three serpents. They're working, I was really seeing stars and galaxies and different things. And the serpents seem to always be searching. There's something about that forked tongue coming out, trying to discern what's around it. And so I just started working with that, and I love color, so naturally that's where it went.
So is this something new in your work? I haven't seen the serpent introduced into your work before.
Actually, this is about 8 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the serpent, there some things I find it's a little difficult because people misinterpret serpents. You know, they're looking for, okay, it's a snake, it's, you know,
Dangerous,
good and
it's
evil,
gonna bite,
you know,
yeah.
and all of that. And so you really have to be careful about how you articulate through the visual parts what you're trying to say. And so it's really just something that keeps popping up, no pun intended.
Yeah. Well, I notice here, David, how you have how you put the light to bring out the dark.
Right.
Which you do a lot.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, as I look around your studio, I see that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here, not so much.
No.
Is this Japan?
Which one?
This one.
No, this one actually was after my father passed away. It was in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And so that...
Blossoms.
Yeah. Yeah. And he had passed away in February. And you know how that shock is when you're dealing with, like, you know, and I'm trying to explain to Mother, and she's not able to really understand it. But it just seemed like, yeah, life goes on.
And there was another breakthrough after your mother passed.
Right.
That you were looking toward the infinite somehow.
Yeah.
Explain that to us.
Okay, the infinite part of this is the star navigator. You know, you start looking at, what am I going to do now? What, you know, am I going to do? And I started going, oh, I can go here and do this and do this and do that. And then I thought, or I could go over here and do this and do this. And I suddenly realized the map was there. I could go through any place by just going different things, doing different things. And suddenly I realized it was infinite. I could infinitely have different choices by just making little choices, ending up in different places.
And you had the freedom then to do that.
Right.
Yes, I understand that because you were your caregiver for your mother and your father.
Right.
For how many years, David?
That was about really heavy care, about 9 years.
About 9 years. And before that, you were is that the time you were teaching at San Jose State College?
Oh, no. That was when I was here just developing my artwork.
I see.
You see, I started out as a fiber artist and was teaching at San Jose State and working in academic. Then I went into doing everything from African art and stuff like that, bringing it in, selling it, and doing those sort of things, to just about anything I could get. I worked a stint as a museum director for a while. I did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I just kept coming back to the art. It was the only thing that anchored me and really satisfied me.
I've seen your furniture.
Yeah.
Are we going to see any of that today?
Probably not, because the pieces I have are in storage right now. Because
I saw some in a local restaurant.
Painting the local scenes, and I really got into this idea of shadow lines and color and the intensity, you know, and versus the softness I got in this one. But I just really enjoyed seeing all of the beauty around me, all the things.
So this was after you moved back here?
Actually, this would be probably around 2000 in that area.
Professor of art at San Jose State at the age of 24.
Yeah.
And that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, I'm not sure they thought so. They're probably thinking, I like this kid. Oh my
How,
gosh.
how long were you there?
I was there just about 8 years.
Wow, that's a long time. Of course, being an art professor, that wasn't all you could do. You are a musician. I've never heard you sing, but with that deep bass voice of yours, I imagine you have a beautiful voice.
Well, in my younger years, yeah.
What do you mean younger years? You're still young. Gonna get
Thank
him to
you,
tell his
Betty.
age.
Thank you, Betty. Oh, that was
No, I'll
great.
get you off the hook.
Oh, good, good.
So you were, but all of this fabric art and the furniture making and all of that was an outgrowth of your experience as a teacher.
Not only that, it was also the search of life. I think that we go through life searching and finding and acquiring and building, and suddenly we find out what we keep coming back to is a certain pattern. And that pattern is what we suddenly start feeling, oh gosh, that's me. That is the pattern I am.
All right, but there is a lot of swirls, dots, dashes.
Oh yeah,
Curly
you see,
cues.
that's part of the journey to find it.
One time you said to me that life can be messy.
Oh, it is. It's extremely messy. Yeah, but in the mess, in that chaos, is really the excitement. That's where you pick up the germs of a new idea, a new way of thinking, a new look at things.
And so, with chaos comes freedom.
Yeah.
And so, what is your freedom now?
My freedom is discernment. I get to be the freedom to discern what it is I really want. What is it?
Okay, show
Define.
us. Show us in these. I like your cacti.
Oh, okay.
I-
The cactus. The cactus is, it lives a sense of, we can recognize their cactus, we can recognize they're in bloom, we can recognize hills, we can recognize stars. All those elements are things that we easily put in our canon of recognition.
Our experience.
Yeah. And what happens is when we start combining them in different ways, how is it that we have bloom with enough light on them when everything else in the picture is telling you? Because the artist sees differently. I'm not trying to make a photo. I'm not trying to create a new reality. I am merely telling you about what is exciting, that in the darkness, in all of that unknown, there's
You
something.
create light.
That's right, and
Yes.
it is alive, and it's beautiful,
Yes.
and it breathes,
Yes.
and it really takes you places.
Yes, I can see that. But I always wondered where the light was coming.
Of
in your
course,
cacti.
yeah, you have to like.
Yes. Now, is this one new?
Yeah, that was in my last show. It's
At Black Market
Right.
Gourmet.
yeah, and this is just, I really was fascinated when I was in Japan, especially in Tokyo and then Nara and some other places, about these lanterns. These lanterns are not necessarily to give light. The lanterns are there to signify, to be, I mean, you would not put lights behind colored stuff if you really wanted the light to shine out. What you're creating is silhouettes. The
A
images.
suggestion? Are
Uh-huh.
you saying this is for the mind, a
Yeah.
suggestion? You're planting a seed, and so the viewer then can do whatever they want to with the result. Okay, and this was no accident that you
Well, you know,
I gotcha.
like that's right. Like colors, you know, yeah, I definitely
You're right.
like.
Okay, now is there anything? This is it. What's
Well, actually,
early work?
this is probably around 2005. I call it a mechanical sunset because there is the mechanics of the hard edges, but there also is the symbols that, yeah, this is, I see the bay, I see the rocks, I see the reflection, I know that that has to be a sun because, you know, that's
But
where
it
it is.
takes you into. Where's it taking you?
It's taking you to wherever you need to be.
Well, where did you go?
Where I went to was solitude.
Was what?
Solitude.
Okay.
Yeah, I needed to have some peace time. That took me to peace. Now, the mechanics of it may be a little bit heavily stated, but that is the idea. You have to create the place where you can be at peace.
Absolutely.
Because if you can't create that space, you'll never get there.
And aren't you creating that for the viewer as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because the viewer is experiencing what I want to talk to them about.
So, but her view might be different than my view. Is that, does that bother you?
No. I asked myself two questions. Am I articulate in what I presented to the viewer about what I wanted to say? If I go back and look at that and say, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted, those images together, creating that type of vibration was what I wanted to say, then I have to say, they took it in a different way because that's their filters.
Okay. So it's their experiences
Exactly.
that they bring to. That's interesting. So as a viewer of anyone's art, and especially abstract, you bring your own experiences and relate it to. Now, Professor Kimmerling says, don't label abstract. I can't help myself.
Yeah.
I want to define everything because I do representational, but this is not about me. But it is as a viewer.
Yes, it is. And it's valid because you are the one he's trying to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we're not communicating with our art, what are we doing this for? You know, are we going to win little prizes and have our little ribbons that we wave at each other? No, this is part about us talking to each other in ways that we're using visuals rather than words. And so we then have to develop it and create the tensions that when you look at it, there is enough information coming to you that you can understand what's being said.
So we each become a painter.
Or
And whatever,
interpreter.
yeah, and someone said, and maybe it was you, said that if it's too finished, then it doesn't leave anything for the viewer to.
I'm not sure finished is the correct word.
Okay, help me with the word.
I think if everything is spelled out too much, it's like a book that tells you, and he wore a green shirt with blue pants, with a brown belt, with shoes, with the socks that didn't match, with da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You've lost it. You no longer have the interest in it because you've been supplied all this information that you can't keep track of.
But you started out as a representational artist.
Yeah.
And at what point in your life experience did you say, oh, this stuff's too refined for me, I want more freedom, I want to throw dots and dashes around on the canvas?
Well, actually, that is a very interesting point because it evolved. It wasn't that I made the conscious decision, it's where it took me. I realized that I could make it look like a real thing, but was that really what I wanted to communicate? The reality of the situation was so limiting to the person who saw it. They could only see that.
And it had to be exactly as it existed.
Because that
Let's
was
go in the other room.
Okay.
I don't know whether there's enough light.
Mother's Alzheimer's. I did a
This
whole...
is the one that, didn't you do this at our show at the gallery? Because I remember all of these little ventricles and the veins around the heart.
Right.
But was this the one? Or there's another one
there's
with
a
more
whole
light?
series of
Yes,
them.
okay, that's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Well, this one deals with the idea of mother was dying.
Yes.
And she was dying with the Alzheimer's. Coral, when it dies, bleaches.
Oh.
Life, death. She was, the memories that she had, the things were dying. It was still beautiful. I mean, it was still gorgeous. But-
Bleached, it was out.
Yeah, but it no longer was there. It wasn't living. It was why we look at seashells and we don't see the little creature in them because, you know, it's messy. The little creature is messy and you gotta water it and you gotta feed it and you gotta do all that. We love the shell. We don't necessarily love the creature. So the life part that really makes it, that makes these incredible things, sometimes is harder to deal with than the outside shell, the memory of what they were like.
So, what were you feeling when you painted this?
I was
the,
feeling-
the heart represents the love that
Oh,
you had
sure.
for your mother.
Yeah,
yes.
I was still in love with her.
And I see even behind here, you clothed light behind it.
Yeah.
So what was that light? What
That light was her. She had light in her. She was someone whose faith never left her. She was someone whose love never left her. Her sweetness never left her.
It's very touching.
Oh yeah, it was an amazing experience. Also to see someone deconstruct. We think about building, we talk about a lot of growth, we talk about a lot of things. We don't talk about deconstructing.
We're afraid to.
Of course, yeah, because we're afraid we'll lose who we are.
Okay.
She lost who she was in memory. She could no longer remember who I was or my dad or anyone else, but she still held on to the nature of herself.
The spiritual part
Yeah.
of her.
Right.
Okay. So was your father spiritually inclined as well?
Oh, yeah.
So this was your foundation.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I see in all of these a spiritual aspect.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Without the realization that your life is part spirit, what are you going to do? Divorce yourself from the half of you?
No.
Yeah.
But it happens to you when we do pass from this life to the
Yeah.
next.
Or when we change from this life into the next.
Yes. And it's just change.
Yeah.
So what's going to be your next adventure into what happens in the next change of our life?
Actually, I don't know. And that's fine. I am trusting in the one that brought me here. If that force and that God can bring me here, I don't have to worry about where it's going to take me.
I call that faith.
Yes, it is faith. When I first started painting again. Yeah, and the one next to it's that early too.
Yes. Now that's more your realism.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really captivated by that. Yeah.
I like that too. That it seems like that in most of your paintings, it comes from somewhere and appears, and you keep wondering, well, what's behind over there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
The
always a
questing
mystery.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This was going to be your treat. She wanted to treat you.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what it was we were celebrating. We didn't have to have an
I don't
excuse.
think we did. Yeah. Oh, her show. We
Oh,
had,
that's right.
Yeah.
At the museum.
no, her show at.
At the gallery by the bay. Yes. Okay. All right. We're on track now.
Okay, well, getting back to the spiritual part
Yes,
about it,
yes.
I don't think that you can exist without that spiritual part and be a full human.
No, I
Because-
don't either. I agree with you.
Yeah, and so we seem to fight it so much. We seem to hide behind words, and we give it these all, deep meanings and things that we are just trying to hide behind because we don't know, for one thing. I mean, it's sort of like the person who says, I don't believe in ghosts, but believes in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. So have you had this insight from an early age, or has this been evolving?
Actually, it was part of how I was brought up. Mother and dad told me that when the week I was born, we went to church and they carried me, and there's where I was. So yeah, it is a family tradition of multiple generations of people seeking faith and belief and the real life that accompanies that, and how they can live their lives with faith to be able to make sense of everything else around them. You can either rely on what you see, and that's how you get what you believe, or you can believe that there's something you can't see. There is a wonderful verse in Proverbs that says, God is praised for his mystery. Kings are praised for explaining mysteries.
I'm a Sunday school teacher.
But it's just this really what we try to explain everything in what we can put in our boxes. Because then once it's in a box, you can just stack it away and that's all taken care of. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. But when you can't put it in a box, then it becomes messy.
Messy.
Just like
You use that word again. Messy as applied to your spirituality, David?
Of course. Yeah, that's
But it isn't anything you can see.
It isn't anything you can see, and if it was, then you could categorize it.
You could put it in a box.
That's right. And once it was, it would no longer be messy. You would have received your vision about what it is. You would be able to market it, sell it, write your book about it, do whatever. And it would never have wonder to it again.
So, you put it away. Do you ever go to those boxes and pull it out like when you need it or for reference or...
Well, you see, that's why I don't believe you can ever put it in a box.
Oh.
You want to. You want
But
to
you put it on canvas.
But is that really defining it? You know...
I ask you.
I don't think that anyone can define faith by a visual form. Because you're asked to define something that is invisible and make it visible, you can only become allegory to it.
In other words, you can express a likeness to it so that what? Why do we put these things on canvas and hang them on the walls to remind people that this is the way I felt when I painted that, and I used that color because that pleases me, and it brings out a certain aspect of me that I like or makes me feel good.
Yeah, or how about that resonates in others?
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, because...
But how do you know it resonates in others?
Because they tell you.
Okay, I want you to share with us the story about the guy that heard that you were a painter. Okay, tell us that story. It's a good one.
It was at church. A man came up to me that had just recently been coming to the fellowship, and he said, "I hear you're a painter." And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, I have a house. I'd like for you to paint it." I said, "No, you really wouldn't, because I only have a little brush about this wide, and I would definitely charge by the hour."
And then you said, "But thank you very much."
Oh yeah, but thank you very much. But yeah, neither one of us would have been pleased.
I wonder if he ever got his house painted.
I imagine so. If he had the bucks to do it, there's going to be somebody who will paint, even if they have little brushes.
Yeah. Or maybe he bought one of your paintings, and let's hope that he did.
Yeah, we can hope. We can hope.
And you know, David, when you walk in the hospital there in, is it Coos Bay or North Bend? Anyway,
It's Coos Bay.
It's Coos Bay, yes.
Yeah.
You walk in the door, and to your left on that wall, you have a triptych that, am I saying that right?
That's correct.
That three parts of the bridge at Florence over the river.
Uh-huh.
I don't know when that was built, but it is beautiful. It just dominates that whole wall. And it's been there about a year now.
No, 2 years actually.
Has it been 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And let me put in a plug for Coos Art Museum. It's one of
those
that
sales
we
rental.
got through sales rental at Coos Art Museum, where I am a volunteer and love to be there. And David has his work there, and you can view it online. David, what is your email address?
You can contact me through my website, which is dcastleberry.com.
I wonder if we spell Castleberry. Does everybody know how to spell Castleberry?
You mean like Castleberry?
I've always wondered about that. Thank you.
Me too. I'm glad you straightened me out.
Well, that's another thing about you. Your affable personality. You're always laughing, and people enjoy being around you. I've never seen you without a smile on your face. There's a kind of a half smile right now, but it's usually a ha 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 big smile. And I see that in your paintings too.
I hope so, because that's me.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know,
light.
Yeah, and that's the painting. They're really self-portraits. They really all.
Your paintings are self-portraits?
Of course, yeah. The element that's there is me. It's how I interpret it. It's how I think about it. It's how I'm looking at it. The painting behind you is the one of the tree. Is dealing with this concept about ornamentation. I really like this sort of feeling of the hori vacui. The idea that everything has covered and things are happening and there's light and everything's going on.
It's reaching out.
Yes, and patterns within patterns within patterns.
What is that in the background? Is that a city or is that a forest? That blue in the...
It's actually a fog.
Yeah.
And the top is the sky. So you would have to ask yourself, why is the sky and the fog the same color? Because they're usually not. However, that's because I can do what I want to as an artist. That is the excitement about
So
being...
what do you call this that you do, this art that you do? Does it have a name for it?
Well, actually, probably it's going to come into Impressionism. It's going to come into expression.
Abstract?
Not really abstract, because you look at it, you're pretty sure of what the forms are. You may see them in odd patterns, but you look at it, you see that the branches are coming out of rocks.
I'm not sure what this form is.
Actually, it's difficult.
Lanterns?
They're lanterns hanging off of branches coming from a pond that is actually a human.
Oh, now I see the figure behind it. Okay, so
And I call
now
it
what's it saying to me?
light bringer. That's what I call
A
it.
bringer of the light.
Yeah.
All right.
And when it gets done, it will actually, a lot of the rocks will disappear under a sheen of reflection of water.
Now say that again. That's important.
A lot of the rocks that you see are going to vanish because they will be covered with the sheen, the reflection of water reflecting the light.
Okay.
It's interesting that the figure doesn't generate light. The figure only reflects light.
Okay. All right. I'll buy that. About this, so it's up to you to keep the light going.
Well, actually, it's because the light bringer is a very fascinating thing to me. We talk about bringing light in so many different ways. We talk about bringing ideas, and we talk about bringing, religious points of view. We talk about bringing all these things, and we call it light. We're enlightening, like the
Yes,
enlightenment.
yes, and once you've been enlightened, that means that you're full of light, or wisdom, or what would be other words that
You're starting out that vocabulary that we use so much about that.
Mhm.
It is this whole vocabulary we've developed about sharing something that you didn't have before is what you're being brought.
And you trust that it's going to be accepted. Does it matter if it is not accepted?
No, because it doesn't change what you're bringing. It only
Okay.
changes the reaction to it.
Okay. Now I want to I want to go into some other things for you, because I know that where did you attend college? I mean, art school. Where was it?
Okay, I did my undergraduate work at San Diego State, and then I did my graduate work at Temple University's Tyler School of Art in Philadelphia.
Well, how did you get from the West Coast to the East Coast?
It was really amazing, Betty. I applied, and these people said, "Yeah, you come on."
Did you get a scholarship?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So your talent was recognized early on.
I was fortunate that a lot of people shared my vision and supporting me that way.
And representational. I just want to say you started out as representational. I'm just trying to build a little.
That's right. And you know what? If I had just stayed that way, think how good I could be by now.
Along with jillions of others, right?
Well, you know what? Sergeant I mean, they still come to look at him, and
Yes,
there
they do.
is an individual.
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, he could paint.
So I look at you, we all do here in this area, look at you as having reached the apex, that you're the top guy, we're all proud of you, and everyone knows who you are, and this is what other artists strive to become. Are you aware of that?
I hope that they've got a higher point of view than me. They need to go.
See, you don't realize the light you're carrying around.
But that's it. We all are building on top of each other. We all are seeing, we're all growing, we're all finding, we're all going. It's not that one is achieving, it is that we're all achieving.
But you just seem to have an answer for everything. Now, I'm going to hold you to that. What is your, come on back to earth here, let's. What is your advice to inspiring young artists? They don't have to be young. Most of us aren't young when we start.
You know?
Because we need that inspiration, that vision, and we don't have time when we're young.
Well, also, we don't have resources. You know,
True.
it takes a lot of money to be able to do this. You know, to be able to walk in and buy art supplies, to be able to experiment when you don't know if those supplies, that takes you to where you want to go.
Yes. I know Judy Caldwell is teaching a class now on pastels. We've got to get a little plug in here for the art salon at Gallery by the Bay. And she provides all of the materials, because to invest in the pastels is a financial, you have to pay quite a bit for those things. And so she makes it possible for the students to try it out, and then before they buy. And I think that's a good idea. But back to this question.
But that you just answered that.
Okay.
That is one person enabling others to be able to develop.
You
their
hear that,
art.
Judy?
And that,
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's what we're all doing. We all enable. Someone says, "Oh yeah, you could do that. I can do that." You have that idea. Yeah, it's a good idea. I have a good idea. I think I'll go with my idea.
Yeah.
We all help each other. We all support each other.
So not only in the involvement of the human race, but of art and the things that we express while we're evolving. What is the advice that you give for aspiring artists?
Aspiring artists is the same advice I give for anybody. Live. Just live. You take your whatever you're doing and live with it. Go with it. Make it part of who you are, part of your expression, part of what you do. We have a really interesting idea that somehow we get this thing, and then we can just run with it and we can do it. Actually, it has to become part of your DNA.
Do you think that some people have a gift and others don't have the same gift?
I think some people find it easier to articulate visually than others.
Well, where do they get that? How does that come about?
I would have no idea. I would assume it's just part of your makeup.
Okay.
My father and mother were really great. They're very creative people. They didn't paint. They did other things. They built houses. They designed things.
And was he a cabinet maker?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And built houses, built a lot of things. He had one of those minds to be able to create, to mathematically think about things. He made a great architect. He had all of that. And he approached creativity from that. For him, problem solving and figuring out how to make a building so it wouldn't fall down, how it would build, how it would change, how you could utilize things, that was him. He loved that. Mother was the one which could nurture and grow plants and make these gardens that were just like, and you're like, how did you do that?
Like
I
mango.
just put it in the ground and I just, take care of it.
Called it a green thumb or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had a wonderful heritage, and so they were very supportive of you in the inclination that you were exhibiting at that time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it must have been a shock. Both my parents were very athletic. My dad had played football. My mother had been track. I mean,
Really?
yeah, they were really great. They went to college, you know, the first few years of college and stuff, and then met and got married, and then went on with a different life.
Did you have siblings?
No, I'm an only child. Yeah, yeah, and
Wow.
yeah.
So all of that energy was focused into you, into developing, and that's part of who you are now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You are an accumulation of those things that bring you to where you are.
Now you've been able to do some traveling recently. Where did you go? You
Let's see, I've been to Japan, I've been to Europe, I've been to as many places as I can. I just really enjoy seeing the world.
David, I just look at your life and I see, I see your, like for instance, your work that you did at Black Market Gourmet. It was all new.
Mm-hmm.
How often is your turnover of things? You're gonna have to build on another room if to make a place for the things.
I already have one storage area that I have
Oh,
to
you
store other things. Oh yeah, and that's part of it. Part of it is you love the sales, you love to see pieces go, and the income provides so that you can build other new things. And sometimes it doesn't move at the speed that you would like, so you still keep going on. You still have to keep on, or else you stagnate.
Yeah.
If anything, I think the model I've always had about myself is I'm a shark. I swim. If I stop swimming, I die.
Oh, okay.
And I use that analogy because it's the only one that makes sense to me. If I'm not constantly creating and building and going forward, then everything begins to atrophy. I begin to lose focus.
And now I want to paint for you a picture of the entrance to the airport at North.
Okay, let me get you some paper and a pen and.
No. I see those brushes over there. This is a mental picture.
Oh, mental.
For
Oh,
anyone
good.
coming into the airport at North Bend, they look on the wall. It's like walking into a fishbowl. Here are these brightly colored fish. Yeah, there's one. And he has hundreds of those at the Cusart Museum Rental Sales Gallery, and they're selling like fish, like what? they're selling fast.
Yeah.
People come through the airport and they see those and they want to take those back to their home in Florida or Texas or Canada or Arizona or someplace. And so they become very popular. And in fact, I told you we sold one this week.
Mm-hmm.
And they go all over the country. Where did you get that idea to cut those things out of masonite and paint them all these splashy colors? Where did that come from?
Actually, it started out with one piece, and it was the idea that I was in the studio painting, and I thought, you know, this, somebody kept telling me, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And I said, I don't want to play that game. And I thought, game fish, game. And so, would you like to see it?
Yeah.
Excuse me for 1 second.
Okay.
Do you want to play games or fish?
Scrabble?
Yeah, you could do anything. It was the idea that the fish became the game.
All right.
And I thought, oh, that's fun. And then that led to another fish, to another fish, to another fish. Then they started selling. And,
Yes.
you know,
And selling from where? From the airport.
This was long before the airport. This was from Port Angeles.
Okay.
And they were selling, and then when it got to Milton Freewater, we lived right on the Walla Walla River, and I was doing the felt fish, and I was doing these as sort of a side.
So this was happening before you moved to Coos Bay?
Uh-huh, oh yeah.
Oh, I thought you saved that special, fresh idea for us, but that's been going.
You know, it only evolved to greatness when I got here.
Yeah. Well, it is really something to walk into the fishbowl there at the arrival area at the airport. And if anyone hasn't seen that, it's worth it just to go out there and look down. You can, from the waiting room, you can look down into that because it's locked and you're not allowed to go into there. But every size and every color, and where do all those color combinations and swirls and dots and dashes come from?
Well, I don't know. Looking around, I'd say it's whatever it is. It's sure coming in a lot of them in a lot of
Yeah, it
different
just
places.
keeps coming out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
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 Amazing.
Yeah, and part of it is too about just exploration. You know, having fun. The fish are, to me, a great way of just being able to smile.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that I care about, is that you see them, you smile, and you think, yeah, that was fun.
Well, and they're this size and bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have some that are what are those that are with a long tail?
Mm-hmm.
What are those called? You don't even know the name of them, do you? You just named them.
Well, not from that description. that was Fred and Jimmy.
Okay. Well, they are delightful. And you see the ones that you have on your fence out there.
Uh-huh.
Now, those are large.
Oh, yeah. Well, the 6-footers, I've done some 6-footers,
Yeah.
a little bit larger.
We don't have any place to put those at the museum. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But I wish that everyone would just go into the medical center, the hospital there in Coos Bay, and take a look at that beautiful bridge. It's just, you just want to sit there, and there is an area where you can sit and just look at it. And it's made up of tiny dots.
Mm-hmm.
You don't call that pointillism.
No, not really. Pointillism is where the whole surface would be that. That has passages that doesn't have dots.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, actually, I think it's just an enhancement. It's like every type of brush stroke will give you a different type of look. And that just happens to be with a little tiny brush going dot, 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 dot.
I've forgotten, but the bridge, are those lines, or is that done with, that's done with the dots too, isn't it?
Parts of them are lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see any difference between the dots and anything else. It's just part of the paint that goes on there. It's whatever will go there that says what I want it to say.
It's lovely.
Well, thank you.
And I really, you are an inspiration to the artists in this area. I don't think anyone dares try to copy.
Maybe they don't want to, you know.
Maybe. Also, LNG has several of your paintings, yes, upstairs on the balcony.
Yeah.
And you enter all of the
Expressions West
yes,
show.
Expressions
Museum
West,
show.
and I think probably the Maritime show that's coming up. You always have one in that.
No, I usually don't enter that one.
Why?
I'm busy doing other things. No real reason. It's a great show. I like to go there and see it.
Yeah, good. Well, anyway, we're just very glad to have you in this community, and how you inspire all of us, and we look toward you as that's where we want to go. We want to be a David Castleberry, not copying your style maybe, or maybe because we can't, or we don't have the vision, but we have it in other ways, and all of that creativity. So, this is David Castleberry. We've introduced you to David Castleberry, and you can reach him at his website, David Castleberry.
D. Castleberry.
D. Castleberry, and that is a delight. To go to his website, it's just a splash, a display of color upon light and dark. And we've looked in the studio here today, and you've seen just the surface of what this artist is capable of doing. Thank you, David, for your time.
Thank you.